Night bled into dawn over the coastal city of Puerto de Cielo, a place soaked in salt, secrets, and the quiet hum of fear. In a run-down neighborhood, Mateo Cruz ran barefoot across the cracked streets, his breath cutting through the cold air. Behind him, gunfire echoed. His brother's men were hunting him. Mateo never thought it would come to this. He never imagined the day he'd be forced to pull a gun on his own blood. But the line between family and enemy had blurred long ago, and now it was all gone. Mateo was born into poverty, the third of 5 children. His father drove a rusted truck carrying cement bags across construction sites, while his mother sold tamales near the docks. Life offered no luxuries, just hunger, sweat, and long nights listening to his parents argue about money. From a young age, he watched his eldest brother, Ricardo, fight life like a cornered wolf. Ricardo was 15 when he dropped out of school, joined a local street gang, and began running errands for shadowy men who drove imported cars and wore gold watches. Mateo looked up to him. Ricardo had what none of them had: power. He could provide food, pay rent, even take their mother to the doctor. Everyone whispered that Ricardo's new job was dangerous, but they couldn't deny it. He was saving them, at a price. Years later, that decision would tear everything apart. By the time Mateo turned 18, hunger had hardened him. The docks offered nothing but low pay and broken promises. Ricardo, now working under El Sable, a regional cartel boss known for his cruelty, came to him one night. "You're tired of being broke, right?" Ricardo asked. "Come with me. I'll show you how the world really works." That's how it began, a simple drive through the desert, a meeting at a ranch where men carried rifles like extensions of their arms, and one box, sealed, heavy, and humming with risk. Mateo's first job was to transport it. He didn't ask what was inside. He didn't need to. The smell of cocaine and blood always traveled together. After the delivery, El Sable himself approached him, eyes sharp, voice steady. "Your brother trusts you," he said. "Don't ever make him regret it." That night, Mateo felt something awaken. Fear, yes, but also a taste of belonging. The kind he'd never felt in the slums. Soon, driving shipments wasn't enough. He learned how to launder money through fishing boats, bribe the harbor police, and handle problems quietly. The first time he saw someone die, it was a low-level rival who tried to intercept a shipment. Ricardo handed Mateo the gun. "End it," he said coldly. "He's got a family, Rico," Mateo protested. "So did the man he killed last week." The sound of the bullet echoed longer than any prayer could. From that moment on, Mateo learned to silence his conscience, to fold guilt into obedience, because in their world, mercy was betrayal. Over the next 5 years, the Cruz brothers rose like smoke, quick, visible, unstoppable. Ricardo became El Sable's right hand, and Mateo became the strategist, behind the scenes, smart, discreet, and loyal. But success bred envy. Rumors began spreading that Ricardo was planning to start his own organization, breaking away from El Sable. Mateo tried to warn him. "He treats us like dogs," Ricardo spat. "And why should we beg for scraps when we built his empire?" Greed blinded them both, but in different ways. Ricardo wanted power. Mateo wanted peace, enough money to pull their family out and disappear. El Sable, ruthless and paranoid, caught wind of their plans. One night, his men ambushed Ricardo's convoy on the mountain road. The vehicles went up in flames. Mateo barely escaped. His brother, however, survived, scarred, furious, and changed. Months later, Ricardo re-emerged under a new banner, La Nueva Sangre, a splinter group taking over El Sable's territory piece by piece. The war was brutal. Towns turned into graveyards, farmers disappeared. Mateo joined his brother out of loyalty, but something inside him began to crack. Ricardo no longer trusted anyone, not even his own men. He executed lieutenants for whispering too loud. I shot informants in front of their families and used loyalty as a weapon. Then came the moment that changed everything. A shipment went missing. $2 million in product vanished overnight. Ricardo accused Mateo. "Only you had the route," Ricardo shouted, pistol in hand. "You think I'd steal from my own blood?" Mateo's voice broke. "Blood doesn't mean what it used to," Ricardo snarled. The room fell silent. In that instant, Mateo realized his brother was gone. Ricardo didn't shoot him that night. He did something worse. He ordered his men to bring Mateo's head by sunrise. Mateo fled through the mangrove forests, guided only by moonlight and fear. He reached the old fishing village where their mother once sold food. The people recognized him but turned their faces away. The crew's name had become poison. He found refuge with Lucia, an old childhood friend who ran a small clinic. She cleaned his wounds and listened as he shared the unthinkable truth. His brother, the same man who once carried him on his shoulders through the barrio, wanted him dead. Ricardo's reach was long. Every contact, every safe house, every route, he controlled them all. One by one, Mateo's allies vanished. Those who helped him ended up with their tongues out and their eyes open. Lucia begged him to run far, cross the border, start a new life. But Mateo couldn't. Not yet. He needed to stop his brother. Not for revenge, but because Ricardo had become the thing they feared most. El Sable reborn. It was raining when Mateo finally found him. They met in the ruins of their childhood home, now half swallowed by weeds and graffiti. The ghosts of their past lingered in the air. Ricardo sat at the kitchen table, gun resting beside a bottle of mezcal, eyes hollow, yet burning. "You should have stayed gone," Ricardo said flatly. "So you could kill what's left of us?" Mateo asked. The brothers stood across from each other, the silence thick as wet cement. Every betrayal, every body, every lie pressed between them. "I built this for us," Ricardo shouted, "for the family." "You buried the family to build your empire," Mateo roared back. Ricardo aimed the pistol. His hand trembled. For the first time he looked unsure. "You were always the weak one," he whispered. Mateo stepped forward. "Then shoot me, brother. End it." The gun fired once. Ricardo's eyes widened, not in victory but shock. The bullet had come from behind. One of his own men had pulled the trigger. El Sable's mark. Ricardo collapsed, hot blood spilling across the floor. Mateo caught him, holding his head as life drained away. "I told you, Rico," Mateo said softly. "They don't let us win." Outside, sirens wailed. The war was over. The brothers had destroyed everything, each other most of all. Months later, Mateo sat alone in a foreign church, face hidden beneath a hoodie. He didn't pray. He didn't know how anymore. The cartel had crumbled, El Sable was dead, and La Nueva Sangre had vanished into history. He had survived, but at what cost? Every life he took, every dollar he earned, every family broken. It all led to this silence. A silence heavier than gunfire. Lucia found him years later working construction under a false name. She asked if he ever forgave himself. He looked at her with empty eyes. "There's no forgiveness in men like us," he said, "or only memories." The camera would fade to black as workers passed behind him, laughing in the sunlight. ordinary people building homes while he carried ghosts in his heart. In the end, the Cruz brothers were not heroes or villains. They were victims of a world where blood became the ticket out of poverty and the price of staying alive. Because in the cartel life, loyalty is currency and family is collateral.